seeing it here too, and you're seeing a couple other things that are associated with this. It's no coincidence that you're seeing gold shops sprout up, pawn shops sprout up,
right,
in connection with the increased drug activity. Folks steal things
and then they
to pawn them,
right,
to take that money to buy drugs. I mean, it's
right,
a pattern that's pretty well known and relatively new to the Cape. And so folks are stealing gold. They're stealing gold from family members. They're stealing, you know, jewelry in break-ins or whatever the case may be, and they're trading it in, getting the money, and trading it into drugs.
Amazing.
It's a vicious circle there that, you know, you drive by a gold shop and you think, well, that's a nice place to have in case grandma wants to convert some of her old jewelry.
But that's not who's doing it.
Well, maybe you know, 5% of their business is, and depending on what town, certainly it might be different, but a significant part of that business is from
and that's why the police watch them.
Sure,
they do.
They do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of laws. You know, they have to take your photo ID, and they have to keep the materials for so many days and stuff. But stuff slips through the cracks.
Sure.
You know, if you have a plain gold ring without any identifying characteristics, you know, and a week later it's been melted.
Right, right. Which is really too bad. I mean, it's a sad situation.
And so a lot of the breaks that you see, you know, if you read the police logs and you see breaking and entering, I suspect it's a significant number of folks who are seeking to steal things to convert them to cash.
Right.
For drugs.
Right. So I'm going to call you the undersheriff.
You can call me whatever you want, Melinda.
Well, I could call you Jeff, I suppose.
You could do that, yeah.
But as the undersheriff, though, do you find, are you finding that you were a state rep? I know you are an attorney as well, but you weren't involved at all in criminals and all of this. As a state rep, certainly. As an attorney, you might have been. I don't know what kind of law you practiced.
Well, you know, it's kind of the opposite there. That's a good assumption to make. But as a state legislator, I was the ranking Republican on the Public Safety Committee.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So all the years I was up there, that's one of the committees that I ran for my political party. I was, you know, very vocal on some of the public safety issues, whether they be immigration, whether they be things like Jessica's Law or Melanie's Law having to do with repeat drunk drivers or sex offenders.
Right.
And, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, I was a police officer.
Oh, okay.
So
I had forgotten that.
So sometimes, you know, some days I feel like I'm a lawyer, you know, because we're dealing with legal things. Sometimes I feel like I'm a police officer when we're dealing with the street crime unit and the offenses and what's going on here. I think Sheriff kind of jokingly, some days I feel like I'm the HR guy because I'm the guy who has to give out some of the discipline or you know, make some of the no decisions.
He said you were the bad cop. He's the good cop. You're the bad cop.
That's the way it should be. And some days I'm filling the sheriff's shoes because he's, you know, off somewhere else. So it's really different every day. But between being a lawyer and a police officer, my time in the state legislature, you know, it was political. And unfortunately, the Massachusetts culture of government is political, so we need money to run this place. And that money comes from the place that I used to work at. So I think I've added something positive to our ability to obtain funds and our ability to manage those funds and understand how the Sheriff's Office fits in the political system of Massachusetts.
Well, considering this place was built, when it was built, to think that it was supposed to grow so much, and it isn't, is understanding that I know the sheriff said that it has to do with the population rise or fall. It still is, I mean, you could have those, you could still have 450 inmates here and you don't.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a reason that it hasn't grown and actually has declined is because of the programs that are here. It's because of the effort of the staff, the dedicated staff, the security staff and the human resources staff to try to help people, to try to figure out what they need while they're here and give them some support so they don't return. Demographically, we know that in Massachusetts, which isn't growing as well, the number of inmates is growing. So I think the sheriff was being somewhat modest when he's saying the population's stagnant, that therefore our inmates are down. Nationwide, numbers are up. Statewide, they're up. Population is what it is. I think we're doing something right here. And I think it's about caring about the individual. At the same time, you know, when you came in and you look around this place, there's no gym, there's no TVs in the cells, there's no weight room. It's
there is
pretty basic.
I mean, there's a little basketball court
There is a basketball court in an area that is cement with some gates. They don't go outside in the yard. You know,
there's no great view.
No, there's no great view from the hill. It's not. It's a place that you can get help at, but it's not a place that if you had a choice, you'd want to come back at.
Right.
You know, it's
right.
And you're in this pod. You're not walking around the facility. You're not going off to the chow hall. We're sitting where the inmates eat.
So they're here almost 24/7.
And that's the concept of this direct supervision model, is that the inmates don't move a lot. If they need medical care, or if they have a class, they're doing it either in this pod, in a separate room, or out in the house, in this house, in house 3. They're not moving in large groups.
I see.
You can just watch the movies to figure this out.
Yeah.
Where does all the bad stuff happen? It's in the cafeterias and in the yard.
Right.
We don't have that here.
Showers where there's a gang shower.
That's right. We don't have this here. It's all under the control of a corrections officer. They can see everything. They have a lot of backup if necessary, and they're able to interact with the inmates. And not only is it restrictive, it also allows us to manage the facilities, meaning if we have a couple of inmates who don't get along, it's easy for us to make sure they never see each other. And if if we want to hide somebody, it's easy for us to hide somebody.
I see.
So it's like 12 prisons inside this one.
Which is amazing.
Which works.
Yeah.
It's easy to manage. It's easy to keep gang issues at a minimal, enemy issues separate, and able to segregate people who are sincere. The next pod over is M pod. It's called the shock unit. That entire pod is 24/7 a therapeutic drug and alcohol community. So the inmates that are in there are committed to a program, and the entire day, their entire life is structured around getting healthy and free of substance abuse. We can do that because we have a pod that's dedicated to that.
Right.
Where if they were just, inmates in another pod or in a big housing unit and they were trying to get healthy, there'd be a lot of peer pressure on them not to participate.
Right.
But because they're in there, they have the support of the other inmates.
I think it's very interesting to me that you drive in and there is no smoking on these grounds.
No.
There's no smoking in the building.
No.
I mean,
by anyone.
By anyone.
Staff.
Anybody. Yeah. It's just, I find that very interesting. I mean, I don't know why I find it so interesting. Maybe it's a dumb question, but is there a correlation? Is it just taking away one thing that they would want to do? Or is it
it's not designed to be a punishment. It's designed for control. It's designed for safety.
Yeah.
If you're in this housing unit and you're a non-smoker, we don't want you to be subjected to secondhand smoke.
Right.
It's a fire hazard.
Right.
It's a contraband issue.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you.
People would trade cigarettes.
Right. You see all the old movies where they would, hoard the cigarettes and then trade it for something else.
There's a lot of reasons not to have smoking.
Is that true at Walpole?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't know if
I would
all
hope
facilities.
so.
You would think that you would want it to be that way.
You would think so.
Yeah, because anything can become money in a sense.
Yeah.
Something for trade or some sort of
right.
barter system.
That's
so
right.
I would imagine that.
So we try to encourage a healthy, healthy atmosphere.
That's great.
And they have access to mental health. They have access to medical. Every inmate is seen within a week by our physician to make sure that they're okay, and if they're not okay, to address that.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is there's a lot of people here who are surprised they're here, and are sincere about getting better, and we're happy to help those folks. And there's a good number of people here who are they need to be here for society's sake.
Right.
They need to be punished. They're not interested in rehabilitation, and they need to be kept away from the people outside who are living their lives, and we have a place for them too.
So tell me one thing that happens here that might be an incident that would actually be kind of amusing. Are there amusing things that happen here?
Kind of amusing. Well, there's a lot of privacy concerns here.
Yeah,
I heard you try to get to the sheriff about who's here. He was pretty.
I did.
He was pretty. He was pretty coy about it.
I just want to know if there's anybody famous in here right now. That's all. I mean, I know Whitey Bulger's in Plymouth.
Yeah, he's in Plymouth.
Because they've showed him getting off in the helicopter 42 times.
So I guess the most famous person who was recently here, which I can share because it was in the news, if you will, was Richard Hatch. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he spent some time here.
Is that
and
right?
And he made, he spoke about it publicly, so it's not a secret here. But people come and go. We've had politicians here. I'm not going to give you any names. Politicians here. We've had celebrities here. We've had business people here.
Yeah.
One of the saddest things about this job is when you are, and it happens to our corrections officers every day, it happens to me less, certainly, because I'm not dealing with the inmates every day, is that you'll be somewhere and you'll catch a glimpse of someone that you know.
And you go, oh. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a young man in here now that I coached as a baseball coach, and he was, he was a good kid.
Yeah.
And you just walk by and you catch his eye, and this was a long time ago. This is probably 10 years ago, and you see him here.
Yeah.
Or another sad thing, and it happens to every walk.
And you hope he finds his way.
Yeah, you do.
You
do. Is when you're walking through the lobby, you're coming in and you see someone that you know, and they're here visiting.
Yeah.
A family member, and they feel that kind of, uh-oh, somebody saw me type thing.
Embarrassment.
And they shouldn't, I understand that. They shouldn't be. It's our inmates are from every walk of life.
Every socioeconomic.
Yeah, they're from broken homes, good homes. There's no common denominator that said if you do A, B, and C, or your X, Y, and Z, your child or your grandchild isn't going to make it in here. And so that's a sad part of the day here.
Right.
But there's a lot of success stories when you see someone come here and they're hooked on drugs and alcohol, and they get straight, they get their GED, they reconnect with their family before they get out. And they go and they get a job, and they can turn their life around. They reunite with their family, and there's a lot of satisfaction like that. There's as many good stories as there are bad stories.
And that's a good thing. So someday when you retire, you can write a book.
Oh, yeah, I could write a book. The sheriff could definitely write a book.
Yeah. Is that right? That's right. Well, that's great. That's good. Well, I want to thank you for your time today.
Well,
I want to thank you. We took forever trying to get this all set up.
I know.
It took
thanks
forever.
for coming in and taking a peek at the inside of the correctional facility.
It is. I just think it's. To me, it's just so interesting because I think you're behind all these concrete walls, and nobody knows what goes on.
That's right.
And it's a big mystery, and it really isn't a mystery when you think about it.
It isn't.
It's helping people. Trying to get them to straighten themselves out, take responsibility for themselves. Right. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. That it's always somebody else's fault that I'm here. Yeah. Unfortunately. So it's I guess it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing.
Well, it's a necessary thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I want to thank you for your time,
Thank
Jeff
you,
Perry.
Melinda. Great.
Under sheriff.
Special sheriff.
Special sheriff. I like that under sheriff. I love that. That's great.
Terrific.
Well, my last guest, woohoo, is Maria Marasco, and your title is, Maria?
I am the job developer for the Barnstable County Correctional Facility, or the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, are you the only job developer, or are there many of you?
No, there's one of me.
There's one of you, and that would be
it. But I'm part of a larger team. We have a human services team. They are treatment specialists, and then I'm part of a larger group, which the special sheriff spoke to you about, which is a reentry team, which includes educators and then human services and other support staff. So.
I see. So what do you do?
My role is to facilitate job opportunities for inmates. Shortly before their release, we give them the opportunity to attend a job readiness class. So we go through the fundamentals of doing skills and interest assessment, what types of jobs that they had in a previous life. If they didn't, what sorts of work did they do here at the correctional facility that they actually can translate and put on a resume for a potential job. And then we go through the basics of what is required to be a good employee. What does it mean to have a good work ethic?
Do some of these people have no clue whatsoever? It's like they come from another planet and didn't learn this?
Well, some do. But most actually have had work experience, but they have difficulty in articulating it or difficulty understanding that what they have done actually has real value on the outside. So my job not only is to give them these job readiness skills, but to be a coach.
I got you.
To give them the confidence that they actually have skills that will get them a job and keep them from coming back to the jail, which is the ultimate goal.
Obviously. Yeah. Now, I know there's all kinds of programs. There's culinary arts, the GED program. What other programs do you have?
Well, we're in the pod that actually does community service for lots of the towns in this county, where the inmates will go out and with construction skills, they'll rebuild walks, they'll paint, they'll repair roofs, and that actually translates into job-ready skills, construction skills. The officers that supervise those, the men, are trained in construction, so they're getting real valuable skills. We have a kitchen. It's 24/7, 3 meals a day, about 400 inmates plus the staff.
Do they do snacks?
Well, no. The snacks right now are just prepackaged, but the culinary arts program does prepare wonderful items. It's part of their training, but they do share it with the staff. So the men in the kitchen who work in the kitchen and provide the meals that that I will eat and my coworkers will have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner are learning valuable skills. They're learning how to slice, they're learning how to use the grill, they're learning how food safety techniques, culinary arts. They're getting an education towards an advanced culinary arts degree through the Cape Cod Community College. Then there's cleaning, things that you and I would take for granted that actually can be broken down into job-ready skills.
Sure. Like window washing and building cleaning.
Yeah, polishing the floor that you see. The facility here is clean, pristine, and that all requires a technique.
Right.
So
nothing's too low and nothing's too high. If you have an interest, we can try to find that for you.
And those are the work skills. On top of that is the overlay of the programs that the special sheriff talked to you about. We're talking about rebuilding somebody's confidence, decision-making skills, the ability to understand one's own limitations, the ability to frame one's expectations. So we talk a lot about that, and in addition, we talk about what employers expect from somebody on the outside. What, going back into the community, what barriers they have to overcome.
And there is a stigmatism.
There is a stigma or there's concern. There's concern that an employer might have, that the employee is going to be reliable, does have those job skills that they need. So there are actually 2 programs in place that the federal government provides that a lot of employers I don't think are aware of. I was a small business owner and I was unaware of these programs. One is a free $5,000 bond. We call it an employee honesty bond that's available to an employer if they hire someone who's been recently released from a correctional facility. It's free, there's no paperwork, and all it requires is a phone call from the ex-inmate to me and the employer calling a federal bonding coordinator who's in Boston. The inmate has all that information.
So somebody comes to, I run a shopping center, and I'm looking for a maintenance person, a part-time maintenance person, not full-time, let's say, it's part-time, but every day of the week, 5 days a week, part-time. So I could hire this person to do cleaning and small repair. Maybe they have gotten that skill here, maybe they had it before they came in. And I then could say to him, okay, so I want a bond on you because you're going to have access to some keys, may have access to some keys, maybe not, that might get you into some place that you might, it might be tempting. So then he would call you, and then I would get the name of
he or she would call me to say that they received they have a job offer. Then you would get the information for the state person to call. And automatically a $5,000 bond for the first 6 months of that person's employment. That ensures against any form of theft. Not any, if they slip and fall, any negligence, but to relieve any of those concerns that you might have. And so your customers and your clients.
Sure. So, and what else? What other kind of programs would be a part? You said there were. I think you said there were 2.
Right. For anyone who was here at this facility on a felony, if they are hired by an employer within 1 year of their release, that employer is entitled to a maximum tax credit of $2,400. So the incentive, the financial incentive, is there. So for a job that pays from $10 to $12 an hour,
would be
theft, larceny over $250, a drug charge, an OUI charge.
But not like a major thing, like.
Yeah, a major.
Well, like you shoot somebody or something.
Well, that person probably would not be in this facility.
Okay, there you go.
But that tax credit is available in the larger scope for anyone released from Massachusetts prison. But the incentive is there. So if an employer pays somebody $10 to $12 an hour, so you factor in benefits, it actually will translate to about 150 hours of free labor
Wow.
Or reimbursed labor,
Wow.
as we would say. So again, there are larger programs in place that to relieve concerns for employers. And then here at this facility, there are the programs that we put in place to reinforce somebody's ability or to reintegrate back into society and become a contributing person again.
And what are you finding for employers? Are they receptive to all this? Are there some of them go, Maria, go away? Is it a little bit of both? What's going on?
No, the ones that we have approached are receptive. The Chambers of Commerce, in particular the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, has been particularly receptive in helping us get the message out. When the unemployment rate on the Cape is hovering around 9.2%, as of last January's numbers,
right.
Employers are concerned just generally.
Right.
They're not particularly focusing on
whether they're an inmate or been an inmate.
Exactly.
Right.
So their concerns are primarily their business and the running of their business. Mm-hmm. And then they are concerned that regardless of anyone whom they hire, mm-hmm. is that person reliable?
Right.
They're going to show up to work. Do they have transportation to get to work?
People think that's crazy, but that's not crazy.
It isn't crazy.
There are people that are not in this facility who can't do that.
Right. We understand that. I mean, the barriers on the Cape, well, actually, I shouldn't call them barriers. They're hurdles. Right. Anyone can get over a hurdle with enough energy and willpower. But on the Cape, not only are we confronted with a fairly high unemployment rate, we have to wait for the seasonal jobs to start.
Right.
Our infrastructure isn't really there for anyone who doesn't have reliable transportation.
Right.
So those are the things that we understand. The sheriff understands that we need to inform an inmate while they're here what they actually need to do to get in place. So we're doing our best to close the loops and give people a little encouragement and the tools to get back out there.
Now, we had talked about this, because I have to be really upfront with all of you. Maria and I know each other from another life, from the Cotuit Center for the Arts. Maria was a big star in a show called A Grand Night for Singing.
Oh, you said was. That's
well, that doesn't mean you were in that show. Now
It was wonderful. It was wonderful working with you.
It was fun for me too. But I had to ask you about, are there programs here, theater programs, arts programs for the people that are here? Are there those kinds of programs that actually can maybe touch another part of a person's soul and who they are as a person? Do you have those kinds of programs here?
From time to time. I've only been here a year, but it is my understanding that from time to time we do bring in volunteers from the outside that will conduct arts classes. We had scheduled a group that was going to do some choral singing, I believe, but the weather.
Yeah.
Chaplain Dave brings in a lot of musicians, part of his activities.
But I meant to teach them something, to give them...
Are you volunteering,
oh,
Melinda?
Maybe.
Did I hear,
maybe.
am I hearing that?
As long as there's, yeah. You know, I'm not afraid of too much of anything, so.
What I understand is that the special sheriff and the sheriff are open to any ideas that helps them achieve their goal.
Sure.
However, it is within the context of a correctional facility.
Yes.
I am amazed. I mean, the structure here required for public safety, for the care and custody of the individual inmates is regimented. An inmate's day is full, starting from not only the work that they need to perform in a pod for the larger facility, but also going to classes, taking those GED classes, taking the college courses if they want, going through the therapeutic classes. So while there's room, I think that's a question best addressed to the sheriff
there you go.
And the undersheriff.
Well, now that I know that,
sheriff.
I may address that question to them. You never know. But I was just wondering if there were other kinds of, other than, you know, focusing on work, you know, if there were other things that for socialization that really kind of teaches people maybe who forgot, maybe never got the information on how to be a different kind of member of society, you know, to enjoy music, not necessarily headbanging music, but to enjoy those kinds of things in life, a little bit finer things maybe.
Yeah, no, everything that you know, that's in place that it helps improve the
Right.
quality